on a freight train leaving town, not knowing where I'm bound, and no one can change my mind, but Mama tried.
We are back.
One and only
Special edition, I guess, of the First Look program. If you haven't heard by now, legend of legends, man. Country music icon Merle Haggard from right here in Bakersfield has passed away on his birthday at the age of 79. And that's it's a hole you can't fill up, man. There's just nobody. There aren't any more Merle Haggards, man. It's too bad. And Buck and Waylon and George Jones, and it just all these people that built this wonderful form of music are gone. And I guess Willie Nelson's the last of the Mohicans, as it were. I know that Willie had called Merle the night that George Jones died and said, "It's you and me, Pancho and Lefty."
Well, Merle had told some of the people close to him that he wanted the Bakersfield Californian to be the ones to break the news. We had the obituary kind of ready, and we hustled up to get it ready after we received word last night that it might not be very long until the time came. So that obituary is up on Bakersfield.com right now. It's on the Bakersfield Californians Facebook page, and it's we've got the whole story there, but we will continue to work on it, and you can expect a special section on Merle Haggard coming out soon, possibly Sunday.
Well, one would expect.
Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled to Bakersfield.com for that stuff.
A lot of people, because we have some friends in like sort of the Team Merle circle there who have been really, really concerned about this for weeks and weeks now, and have mentioned that quite frequently. But like as we said earlier, Merle wasn't about to get. This is the only way Merle was ever going to quit touring. And I had people like on his closest inner circle tell me that he is not going to stop until he dies. But that's how he wanted to do it. Merle did everything the Merle way, and that's just the way it was, And he ended up with this environmental encephalitis, which meant he got pneumonia really, really easily. Not just from the air or anything, but from food particles, from almost anything. And so it's kind of a tragedy. And I saw Merle many, 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 many times and got to hang out with him any number of times, and he was always super nice to me. And I just it's almost the end of an era, man.
It was totally the end of the era. This guy's story was so phenomenal on so many levels. He wrote so many songs, covered by so many artists, not just country artists. He was this fountain of creativity and emotion and pride. And it seems kind of overstated to call him a poet of the people, but
it doesn't.
He really,
it absolutely
was.
Doesn't. Read his song lyrics without the music. That guy was absolutely a world-class poet.
He talked about the demographics, the economics of being an Okie, of being poor and white, but so many other things, love and love lost, and I think about families struggling to make it, and then he would get into
which is what
politics.
Country music is supposed to be. That was the foundation it was built on.
Yeah.
Is the struggle part of it, and nobody did it better.
Yeah. Fascinating personal life. He was a little bit embarrassed about his time. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit. He was embarrassed about his time in San Quentin. Didn't want to share that too much early on until the day Johnny Cash said, "You know what? Live it. That's who you are.
Yep.
Be there." And it was the right decision, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And Merle was able to, writing those songs, people knew that it was coming from experience.
Yeah, I will never forget the first time because I grew up obviously listening to Merle. He was a big deal in our household growing up, man. You had your little transistor radio and all that stuff living out on the farm. And of course, back then they had real country music and they played that on the radio a lot. And I knew my parents were big fans and my grandpa was a big fan and all that stuff. And here I am years and years later, and Ray calls and says, "Would you like to meet Merle?" And I'm like, "Come on, man, seriously?" And so he did. And Merle used to, and this is I don't think necessarily a secret. He liked Zingos, and he would go wherever he was traveling from on his way back up north on the 99, and he would stop in the parking lot there next door, and they would fill up the bus, and he would go eat at Zingos. So the first time I met Merle was sitting in a booth at Zingos, eating chicken fried steak, and he would, and every time I probably. Maybe 20, 30 times I've been on that tour bus, and every single time, the first thing he would ask me is, "How's your mom and daddy?" Never met them. Never met him, but the first time I met, that was like I'm like, dude, I got to thank my parents on this deal because they introduced me to your music, and we had like mutual friends and that stuff, and you know that guy and you know that, but he would always, how's your mom and daddy? They're doing good, Merle.
Yep. Well, he sold a lot of records, a whole lot of records, and then in the last 10 or 15 years of his life, he was people recognized him for it in ways they hadn't before. There was the Kennedy Lincoln Center awards,
where he
the Kennedy
got
Center Awards.
where he got strip searched at the airport, by the way, by the TSA.
The CMA Awards, the Grammy Awards, they all came in due course. So it's kind of gratifying to know that he was recognized in ways that he deserved to be recognized.
And unfortunately, and we'll see this now, there's going to be this outpouring of just love and admiration for Merle and his work, and now and radio stations will finally play his songs.
I don't know about that. Well, I guess they will.
They will now.
Yeah.
But seriously, if you go through what did he have? 41 top 10 hits, and if you go, it's unparalleled. Just a talent. The way he went about using his talent, he was just a remarkable guy and one of the most stubborn people I ever met. And only Bob Mitchell could possibly show up on the day with an extremely rare Merle Haggard poster. Such is the magic of Bob Mitchell, who we've been discussing this morning. Bob, how are you, brother? It's good to see you.
Very good.
It is. This is one of those times. Guys like us, have we ever had a conversation that Merle's name didn't come up?
I don't think so. Especially when we're talking about.
You need to get close to that microphone. These aren't the good ones you're used to broadcasting.
Gotcha. I don't think so. Bob and I, you and I, whenever we've talked about music, I think one of the things I'm always fond of saying, I said it last. I'm still catching my breath from up the 2 flights of stairs.
Oh, you didn't take the elevator. I'm sorry.
Merle just belongs. You made mention of this morning. He belongs in a stratosphere. He can't even be defined as just the greatest country music artist of all time, which he is.
He is, yeah.
And you can win that argument with very easily. He's up there with everybody. He's up there with Bach and Beethoven.
Oh, sure.
And Lennon and McCartney and everybody. Merle is that great.
Yep.
And it's a very sad day,
It's kind of the inevitability of this,
right?
Because there are people close to Merle who have been extremely concerned about this for a while now, and you try not to get caught up in all of that stuff. But there's a pretty good number of people who were aware that this was coming, and not necessarily this soon. It was still a little bit of a surprise to everybody. But a year ago, the three of us would sit here and we all knew how this was going to go. That Merle was going to tour until he just couldn't anymore, and that was going to be the end of it. And I guarantee you, the last things he was worried about is, man, we got to make that show in Albuquerque, and we got to make that show in Salt Lake City. And that's how he was, man. Get on that bus and let's get back out there on the road. And that's just that's how the guy operated. And you know what? Think about this. He had 79 completely epic years. He left his mark on this world in a way that most artists could only dream of. How many people, regardless of whatever your job is, get to be known immediately as the greatest of all time at what they did?
Very few. I had this thought again this morning. When I called you a little bit ago, 40 minutes ago, I got a text from an artist asking, was it true? I hadn't heard. I got busy, didn't listen to the last hour of your show today. I was doing something else. And I called you immediately because I knew you would know. And it just kind of hit me hard. They're all gone.
Yeah.
They're all gone. And I have complimented Bob on this several times, so he knows what's coming. But the articles that were written years ago and then that's now taken the form of a book that you've been, that is such a noble thing because they're all gone now. And you got it collected when they were here, and they knew about it, and it's on the record. And yeah. I can't tell you, you know how much I appreciate you doing that, and how noble of a thing that was.
Yeah. Well, I am just so honored and pleased that Merle had a chance to read the book. and like the book. I mean, there's no greater compliment. I've got some a little bit of information here that's coming in. I think people will be interested in some of Merle's last wishes as far as his funeral. He wants to be cremated. He wants services within a week, and he's actually listed. He has a playlist of songs he wants performed. He wants a couple of Lefty Frizzell songs, "I Love You a Thousand Ways," and another one I'll get to in a second here. He's looking forward to a performance of "Precious Memories" by Connie Smith, a performance of "Life's Railway to Heaven" by Ronnie Reno, a performance of "Silver Wings" by Marty Stewart and Connie Smith, performances by Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson, song of their choice. He has listed his pallbearers, including his son Ben and his brother-in-law Jim Haggard, his attorney Rayburn Green, among those that he's selected. But he had the time to sit down and map this stuff out, and that's kind of a blessing to be able to do that.
I was just, when you mentioned Lefty Frizzell, I always love talking about Lefty being, one of the grandfathers, and, we all term it differently, but one of the foundation artists of the Bakersfield sound. Buck loved Lefty Frizzell, Merle did, and I have a little Bakersfield sound tour that I do for artists that I've worked with, and they come through town and stuff, and one of the stops we do is the old now the Bass Club, which was the Rainbow Gardens. And in both of Merle's books, he tells stories about standing up on crates and things and looking.
Yeah, on his bicycle,
window.
watching through the window, watching Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. Yeah,
and Lefty. And then that's the Rainbow Gardens. Was the famous story about where Merle opened a Lefty Frizzell show, impersonating Lefty.
Yeah.
Behind Lefty's band,
Which used to be a big deal for Merle too. Is he did a lot of really good impressions of other artists, but he had Lefty Frizzell down cold. Clearly, he spent a lot of time listening to Long White Veil.
You've heard the Live in Philadelphia album?
Oh
right?
yeah,
Where
he does all the impressions on it. Yeah,
and he does Buck and Johnny Cash and all that, and they're as good as any.
Yeah, but he wouldn't play Long Black Veil in concert. He wouldn't do it. He knew it backwards and forwards. But Merle had a respect and a reverence for other artists and their work that most people wouldn't have. If you're as great as Merle, you don't have to respect anybody else's work. But he had this kind of a funny little dust-up with Bob Dylan recently, which if you spend any time with Merle at all and just listen to how he talks about stuff, I knew as soon as I heard that this was kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing that he had with this bit with Bob Dylan and